Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the GLTC annual stockholders meeting. It's 6 o'clock and we're going to call this meeting to order. Before it gets too out of hand, I see where it's headed. Well, everyone, thank you so much for coming today. Let's see, we need a quorum? Okay. Oh, there. Okay, we do have a quorum. Well, everyone, thank you very much for coming to this annual stockholders meeting. It's a great honor to be here and be able to present to you the wonderful things that are happening here at GLTC. I'd like to first recognize our partners and the people who have helped us out. Our Federal Transit Administration, the FTA, Department. We have people here from the Department of Rail and Public Transportation, DRPT, City of Lynchburg, Liberty University, Central Virginia Community College, the University of Lynchburg, and Region 2000. Personally want to thank the board for all the great work that we all have been doing, but we've just consistently had the benefit of mutual support amongst each other. We have a customer advisory committee, and I want to thank them for all the great work that they do, and the ADA committee and all the work that they do and the information that they bring back so that we can help make the decisions that are needed. And of course, I want to thank our riders. We have a couple riders here today, and their input has been so tremendous. You'll be seeing stories coming out in the paper of just how well that they know the routes and have been able to provide valuable information and feedback for the development and implementation of our TDP. First Transit, and Brian's here on behalf of them, and I want to say thank you for providing all the refreshments that we have today. We also have here 4 of our council members: Randy Nelson, Sterling Wilder, Jeff Helgeson, and Mary Jane Dolan. Thank you very much for coming up today. The recap of what is at the beginning of our report comes down into 5 basic sections, and one is the redevelopment of our TDP, the implementation of improvements of our routes, and the way in which it's better and much more far-reaching, and the ability to service more people more efficiently. And again, I want to say to one particular rider, Ben Blanks, the input that he has provided has been tremendous, and thank you very much for that, Ben. A nice friendship has developed from this, and when he has something to say, I enjoy listening because he's well thought out and he does such a tremendous job with his research. The response to the flood of College Lake was something that hit me kind of early that morning in August when I was receiving phone calls from various parts of the state and across the country, and even from Ireland, people wondering about the safety of me and the residents of Lynchburg, because the dam was going to provide about 17 feet of water that was going to cover the entire city. Obviously, we know that wasn't the case, but it was rather interesting the way that people wanted to get the news out first as opposed to accurately. But the response of the GLTC was tremendous. We had our buses there ready to move people as needed from the area that was threatened. And my support for those decisions that were made so quickly remains in force. That any time I'm behind the management team of this company for all the good work that they do and the quickness in which they can implement it. The transfer of the Kemper Street property, our old location, our old bus garage and maintenance facility, we transferred that back to the city for what's going to be the new police station. And if you ever dealt with trying to retask federally applied or federally provided property to a new purpose, you would understand that the reams of paper and the multitude of hours that are involved with that retasking was handled effectively, efficiently, and we were able to take it from transportation over into the use of for the city's new home for the police department. Oh, and you did a good job too. Thank you. Hosting the Virginia State Bus Rodeo and Maintenance Competition. I went out to our facility and was able to witness, not quite participate. They wouldn't let me get in the bus and drive it, but it was fun to watch all the good and talented, the experienced bus drivers that have our wheels go round and round every day of the week. Well, not quite every day of the week, 6 of the 7 days of the week at this point. But they transport our citizens, our clients, effectively, efficiently, and safely from where they are to where they need to be. And if you didn't hear any of the commercials or the news blurbs, one of our drivers is actually the best driver in the country and basically North America. So he has brought another star to shine over Lynchburg, and it was wonderful meeting all those people and then having that award come to Lynchburg. Changes to the Hopper. The Hopper is a free service. Let's say no cost service. Of course, it's subsidized by tax dollars. It is a pilot program to see if something like this would work. We see these things work up in places like Alexandria, where people can ride throughout a section of town at no charge to them directly. And when you have a service like that, the biggest thing is to get the word out and getting businesses on board to help promote it. We have here tonight Josh Reed from Fifth and Federal, who has been instrumental in helping us understand to expand the route from just downtown up to 5th Street near the roundabout, to travel around the roundabout and head back down. And through input such as that and other sources, we developed and expanded that route of the Hopper. This is one of those things that, again, is just a wonderful benefit to the city, the citizens, and all that we can do and provide. We have a sound financial status here at the GLTC, and it was initially thought it'd be closer to $500,000. It's about $325,000 that we're coming back this year with a surplus, and those are dollars that, again, it's painstakingly by our management team. They have gone through and provided efficiencies in the budget, and provided with all the money that we do receive, we're good stewards of these tax dollars, and we want to make sure that we stay that way so that we can continue to provide good service for the years to come. Next order of business is going to be a consideration of approval for the October 25th, 2017 Stockholder meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to accept those? Jack? Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Okay. Our next part of this meeting tonight is the audit report. It's going to be presented by a member of Brown Edwards.
I apologize, we forgot to pass these out before we got started.
Yes, sir.
We'll just sit these out over here.
So now we need to go over that piece.
You can go with that thing.
Okay, yeah. But that's it was supposed to be report.
Yes.
But then I'll go over it. Okay. Good evening. I'm Kim Cook, and I'm a manager with Brown Edwards in our Lynchburg office. I'd like to start with the report you have that's titled Required Communication with Those Charged with Governance. And part of our required communication is that we state that management is responsible for the financial statements, and the auditor is responsible for the expression of an opinion as to whether the financial statements are materially correct. In this letter, you'll also note under significant audit findings that this year was the adoption of GASB 75, where you'll have to book the liability for your other post-employment benefits. Also in this letter, we discussed the accounting estimates that are significant to GLTC, those being the useful lives of your capital assets and the post-employment benefits liability. That net OPEB liability is based on the work by actuaries that are hired by GLTC. And we use their report in order to book that liability. We had no audit adjustments for this fiscal year. Under corrected and uncorrected misstatements, we had one uncorrected misstatement for fiscal year 2018. And this was due to pulling out some of the costs from the O&M facility asset and reclassifying them into separate assets with shorter lives, which triggered this $56,500 decrease to current year expense and a decrease to the beginning net position. But that's immaterial to the financials. Significant disclosures this year include the OPEB by GASB 75. And another item we note in this letter under other matters is the cybersecurity risk management. In today's environment, cybersecurity is paramount, something we should all be thinking about and considering in our day-to-day activities within the company. Brown Edwards can assist with any questions you may have in that regard. We do have some CISA auditors within the firm. So if you ever have any questions, you can contact us and we can get you in contact with those individuals. Next, I'd like to look at the comments on internal control and other suggestions. And this year, we didn't have any material weaknesses in our report. We have one new comment that's on page 3. And it's not a finding, it's just an observation, something to keep in mind. That during our review of the check register sequences, we noted 2 check numbers were listed twice. The actual checks didn't print using those check numbers twice, but it was only listed twice in the Great Plains system. This has been corrected. There's something in the software that allows you to check to use a duplicate check number. And we just advise that you periodically check that and monitor that to make sure that that box is still remaining unchecked. So you want to make sure that your check number register agrees to your actual check number that's being issued. On the next page, we just relisted our prior year comment, and that was based on the overtime pay and those expenses. Current status of that is that has dropped to 12% of operator wages for the current year, and that's largely due to the retirement of drivers at the top wage rate and new replacement drivers who are hired at a lower wage rate. And we had no specific control concerns during this year's audit. Also in this report, toward the back, you'll see a listing of accounting and other matters. And these are just updates and information on standards and guidance that may affect the company in the coming years. And it also lists the future fiscal year dates when they become effective. And starting at around page 15, there's just some information regarding cybersecurity, some things to keep in mind, and some things to be aware of. And if we can actually look at the financial report. And you'll see on page 2, our opinion. We have issued an unmodified opinion on the financial 18 statements. And we also noted under that our change in accounting principle for GASB 75. And note 14 will give you more detail on what GASB 75 entails. And if we go to page 4, statement of net position, just some highlights. Cash increased somewhat during the year, stronger cash position. And this is due largely to a decrease in salary expenses, and there was an increase in federal operating assistance as well. Your federal and local capital grant funds decreased by over $1.1 million, and that's because the O&M project was part of that number in FY17, and also that number included funds for the new bus circulator in FY17. Your federal and state aid funds decreased as well, and that's the company requesting more of their allocations of funds during FY18 than they did in FY17. Other receivables decreased as well. A higher receivable in FY17 was due from Liberty University at that time. Under liabilities and deferred inflows of resources, accounts payable for capital assets, that decrease of $1.2 million is due to the completion of the O&M facility and the purchase of the hopper circulator bus. Those amounts were in FY17's total. Your local share payable to the city of Lynchburg decreased, and you used more of the city assistance during FY18. FY17, there was more additional funds available from performance metrics. And in FY18, we did push the adjustment for the OPEB 75 through the current year local share and revenue from the city. You can go to page 5 for the statement of revenues and expenses, changes in net position. Overall, you see that your operating revenues and operating expenses were relatively flat and unchanged. That increase in the total for operating expenses is mainly due to depreciation. FY18 was the first year where you had a whole year of depreciation for the new O&M facility. And it was just a few months in FY17 of depreciation. Non-operating revenues. Liberty University, those revenues were down due to a decrease in services in FY18. Your state of Virginia aid for public transportation, that decreased, less received due to ridership performance measurements being less for the periods. And then your capital contributions were lower by $9 million due to the O&M building being completed in FY17. And then just starting on page 7 are the notes to the financials. And your key balances for cash, capital assets, your local share payable. And as well, there's an expanded note at 14, one explanation in 14 rather, of the adoption of the new standard for OPEB 75. And then starting on page 22, the schedule of operating expenses. We've listed FY18 and 17 just to give you the detail for the current year compared to the prior year. And we've broken it down by operations, maintenance, and general administration. In the compliance section, starting page 26, the company is required to have a single audit each year, and we audit the federal transit operating assistance and capital grants. We have an unmodified opinion on the federal programs, no financial statement findings, and no findings related to the federal programs. And the agency is a low-risk auditee for FY18. And if anyone has any questions?
Thank you very much. It's always good to get a good financial report, right, Jeff? Okay. We need a motion to accept the report as read. Second. Those in favor, say aye. Those opposed, like sign. Passes. This is a section where we get representatives from City Council. If you would like to come up and make some remarks.
I'll be happy to, after hearing that good financial report, and also as your president has stated that you had a $325,000 surplus, and as the shareholder of Lynchburg is the shareholder, that'd be a nice little dividend that we may be getting. But anyway, thank you for all that you've been doing. It's great that you've had made a very over the last several years, the transitions that have been done with new leadership. I know a few new people on the board. Things have been, we don't hear the complaints like we used to at times. We're not hearing about buses running empty. We're recognizing that you're being good stewards. And I appreciate all the work that you're doing, the contracts that you have with Liberty, the contracts that you have with the other movements from with Hopper and hopefully maybe some of the other schools that you may have. But just wanted to thank each one of you for what you're doing. And I appreciate you, Christian, and thank you very much for having us here today. Thank you.
Next, we're going to have the general manager's report. Brian Booth, I've been coming up on 10 years. Oh, I'm sorry.
You want to cast your vote for the people that have appointed to the board? That's on the agenda here.
That was under the impression that was. Would you like to come up and is that for you? Please.
A little confusion at first, but we got it together. So, City Council was happy to reappoint to the board Mary Winston Deacon, Peggy Whitaker, and Christos Carroll. So apparently you have to vote on that. Okay.
I believe that's still here, but up to you all. I don't believe we
It says something about, I thought you guys had a vote to accept.
Well, we can vote.
No, that's fine. Anyway, we happily reappointed all three, so congratulations to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Never miss a chance to take a good vote. The next part is to have the manager report. And coming up on close to 10 years of working on this board, we've gone through so many different changes, and I can't say that this has been the best relationship. It's been constantly improving. The relationship that we have between all the board members and GLTC and the management company and First Transit. I just want to say thanks to Brian for all the work that he's doing and his staff is doing, because we wouldn't have the bus company we have today if it wasn't for leadership such as Brian. So, Brian, please.
And as soon as I can get technology to cooperate.
Right. Try pointing at the screen. You know the screen's empty. Some of these will sense that. Yes, no.
Steve? Okay, I hear the fan running.
You know, after I just went through saying all this wonderful work,
Technology is not my wheelhouse. I will do buses all day long, but check the battery. It was working at the beginning. You want- Try to see what you can get.
There you go.
Oh, I see a light.
You're good.
There you go. Okay, there you go. Okay. What would a night be without some type of technology snafu at an annual meeting such as this? But thank you for everyone for coming here tonight to be with us, to celebrate what we've done, the accomplishments we've had. I have a brief report here, and we'll just kind of go through it of what we've done over the year, kind of what we expect to do in the coming year, just to kind of put that out there and let you know and report on our accomplishments as well as what to look forward to. Let me turn the power on for this. 2018 was a year of change for GLTC. We had a lot of new initiatives, and we had a lot of service leave us. Miss Gloria Berkeley, who is with us, she retired at the end of December last year, and she had 42 years of service with the company. And then we had another gentleman here, Langhorne Davis, who also retired, and he had 47 years of service. He was actually present before GLTC was actually a company. I think he came in 1970 and was working under the old Trailways when it was a private bus company. And then it was transferred, and First Transit took over the contract and developed a subcorporation in 1974. So he was here to see that transition. He was the last remaining member that was on staff that knew the bus company before it became GLTC. But even with these changes and these longtime staff members leaving us, we did have a couple others retire. We were excited to bring on some new faces, new momentum, and we're excited for what we have in store for 2019. Just a kind of a short recap. Kim did a great job in her report of recapping some of the revenue sources, but in 2018, I'll hit the high points. Our Liberty revenue did decrease. There was almost a 26% decrease in Liberty revenue. That was mainly due to Liberty reducing the service. They had a route that was running off campus to some off-campus housing, and once their new dormitories were opened, they were able to eliminate that route because they moved those students back onto campus. So that was the largest chunk of the decrease that we saw there. Our state assistance decreased approximately 16%, and that was, again, due to some performance metrics that we saw in the fiscal year 2016 that factored into our funding. We're anticipating and hoping that does return back to the level that it did in 2017, but we did see a dip there. And then our federal increased approximately 10% over what we had in 2017. Again, we did have about approximately a $324,000 surplus for the fiscal year 2018. The majority of that surplus was due to vacant positions and kind of forecasting and knowing where we were going, what we were anticipating for the 2018, the current year, this year, as far as revenue. We decided to hold a few of those positions vacant in anticipation that we may have to eliminate positions to be able to make the budget. So that's the reason for that significant surplus, and the majority of that surplus is due to holding those positions vacant in anticipation of the upcoming year, so that we didn't have to hire someone and then immediately lay them off. And we were able to complete the year without having to utilize the reserve account that is set up for us at the city. Ridership for 2018, we did have a slight increase. Overall, we had a 2% increase in ridership. We topped over 2.3 million riders in 2018, and even the city as well as Liberty both saw slight increases. They were approximately 2% each, so we're glad to see that we're having an increase in ridership, and in talking with Patrice at the state, she actually sees all of the ridership numbers from the entire state, and one accomplishment is we were the only urban system in the state to actually see an increase. All of the other urban systems, similar to our size and larger, had a decrease in ridership. So that's a big accomplishment, that we did have a slight increase in this downward trend that we're seeing across the nation. Additionally, we purchased some new paratransit buses that have a low floor. And with this, we use these buses to transport the passengers that have disabilities, that cannot utilize fixed route as easily, or they're not able to utilize fixed route. So these new buses have a ramp that allows the individual, if they're in a wheelchair or a walker or someone, they can board the bus by walking up the ramp. This eliminates stairs climbing into the vehicle, and it also eliminates having a lift, which would actually lift the person up so that they could get into the vehicle if they were in a mobility device or not able to navigate steps. So we wanted to see if we could have an alternative that would allow for a more comfortable access in and out of the vehicle, and a much safer one as well. You heard Christian talk about this at the beginning. We did have a state rodeo. We actually hosted the large bus state rodeo here in Lynchburg in March. And that was something to where 11 different transit agencies from across the state came to Lynchburg to participate in this rodeo. Anyone that's not in the transit industry, the rodeo is a big deal. Christian actually saw it firsthand. And I have a little sneak peek here in just a second, but the individuals shown here are staff of GLTC. Jeremiah Gardner on the left, or I'm sorry, on the right, was actually the first place winner in the state. Nathan Harris on the left was the Virginia Transit Liability Pool safest driver. He won that award for competition. And then the three gentlemen in the middle, Jeremy, Johnny, and Scott Poindexter, who is now our maintenance manager, they competed in the maintenance competition and won third place there. And then there's just another picture of our big winner in the state, Jeremiah, with myself, Amanda, and our operations manager, Alan. So as we talk about what is a rodeo, I decided I'd show you a little clip so that you can get an idea of what it looks like. So that video was actually shot and put together on the day that we had the state rodeo. All of the shots there were for participants competing in the rodeo. And that was a shortened version of a longer video that we put together for the banquet that was at that particular rodeo in March. And then because Jeremiah Gardner on staff here won first place in the state, that qualified him to go on and compete in the international competition. He represented Lynchburg, represented the state of Virginia in that competition, to where he competed against 80 other operators from across the United States and Canada, and he come out first place in the international competition as well, something that was a huge accomplishment. That was his first time winning state, the first time competing in the international competition, and there are operators from across the nation that go year after year after year and never reach even third place. So for him to go on the first try and make first place, it was a huge accomplishment, and because of that, we of course had to promote him to a supervisor so that he could teach all of our new drivers how to drive like that. So, and then upon that, him winning, Governor Northam did recognize him at the Virginia Transit Association's annual conference and expo for that accomplishment. So we're very proud to have him on staff, and to also put Lynchburg on the map for another reason, a positive reason to be on the map and be known for. And probably our largest project, most in-depth project, was the redevelopment of our transit development plan. This picture here was the very first kickoff meeting with our consulting team. Had a roundtable discussion, was able to provide some good input. We received input from our customers. In October, they had launched a survey that was live for approximately a month, received over almost 1,000 responses to that survey to be able to provide some input. And as we worked over the year, it led up to a public hearing that we hosted here on October 1st, just a little over 3 weeks ago, with proposed route changes that we would like to move forward with so that the board could hear public input from the passengers and the citizens of Lynchburg. I know Glenn expressed it at the public hearing, but I was blown away by just how positive the changes were received by the passengers and individuals in the community. We had probably 15 individuals speak and address the board, and I was expecting to hear some negative comments because change is sometimes difficult, but with these changes, what we've done, we've really tried to focus them around what the customer needs are and what their wants are. So being able to have that positive response is very rewarding to know that you've worked on this year-long project. And then this is just a sneak peek of what the overall system will look like once we make those changes. And we're looking, ideally, we would like to launch those changes sometime mid to late December. So we look forward to those changes, and we'll be working with the passengers to ensure that they understand where they're going and have plenty of time to learn the new route. So we're very excited about that. And then looking ahead in 2018, or this upcoming year for FY 2019, we're going to be placing an order for the first round of replacement buses that we have. 75% of our fleet is due for replacement in the next 4 years. So we've already received award and approval from the state as well as FTA and funding from City Council. Thank you all for 8 buses. So we will be placing that order here soon, and hopefully we'll receive those buses approximately a year later to put them into service and replace some of our aging fleet. Again, implementing the route changes that came as a result of the transit development plan, updating that. So we're excited about that. Again, that is expected to launch sometime mid to late December that we're looking at. We're also going to be updating our bus stop signs, and here's a picture of the newly designed sign. This is going to replace the existing signs. It's much larger, it's reflective, so it's much easier to identify and spot, especially at night. So we will be rolling those out with the changes, so you'll see these going up around the city. Additionally, we're going to be updating our website. Our website's going to have a new look, give it a fresh look with these route changes, as well as updating the rider's guide. One of the biggest complaints that I heard probably in the first week about other than it taking too long to get where you're going in the city, was that the rider's guide, the print was too small. So what we've really focused with these route changes in making sure that we're able to incorporate the requests from our passengers and customers to ensure that they're able to utilize the materials that we give them. We are also working with the state to pilot some collision avoidance detection systems for pedestrians. So we've received an award from the state to have that installed on 2 of our buses. That installation took place about a month ago, and we're going to be going through some testing cycles with the state to see how effective this equipment is. Is it something that we would like to potentially invest in the future to further enhance the safety of transit for our city? And we have 2 buses. There's 50 buses within the state from agencies all across the state that are taking part in this pilot program. So we're happy to be a part of that and to see if it's something that is worthwhile investing in for the safety of our community. And then lastly, we're going to continue our emphasis on customer service and safety within our system. So we want to make sure that that's always at the forefront. And then the last thing is to continue our commitment to you as passengers, staff, board members, city council, making sure that we are doing everything that we can possible to put forth the best service, the most efficient service, and be conscious of our spending in the process to make sure that we're providing and meeting the needs of those who use the service. And then lastly, I do have several people that I want to thank. I want to thank our customers. If it wasn't for the customers and the passengers that ride every day, we wouldn't be here tonight doing what we're doing. We wouldn't even, several of us would not have a job, or we'd be out looking for another job. Also like to thank the City of Lynchburg as well as City Council for the support that you all provide, not only through funding, but also as a mechanism to bounce ideas, discuss, talk through some things, keeping us up to date of what's going on in the city so we can prepare and plan for the future. The staff of GLTC, I think Natalie is right there with me. I have thrown a lot of stuff at them over the last year, and they have taken it in stride, and we've come out on top every time. Some days it didn't seem like we would, but we've been able to make it happen. First Transit for their partnership in providing the support. Even though I work for First Transit, and it seems like I may be more of a GLTC employee than anything, being a part of that network is really helpful because I have the resources to be able to reach out to other systems across the nation in positions like I am that's overseeing transit systems and bounce ideas off of them. It's a benefit to be able to have that network that's readily available at my fingertips. And I did skip one, the GLTC Board of Directors. If it wasn't for you all providing the support and direction, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. So we appreciate your support with anything that we bring forward. The Federal Transit Administration, Virginia Department of Rail and Public Transportation, both of those are huge and integral in what we do. 50% of our funding comes from those two entities alone. So if we were not able to receive that funding, what we do in the city of Lynchburg would be drastically reduced. Our Region 2000 staff, Kelly's here, Philip, I saw Gary somewhere. They're very helpful, very in tune with what we're doing. Philip assisted us with doing an ADA bus stop analysis, accessibility analysis, to figure out what bus stops in our system are not compliant with ADA regulations. Gave us a prioritization list, something that we can work toward. That's one thing that we are going to be looking at implementing in the future, working with the city. Kelly, we're working with a van pool program, seeing if van pooling is an option, something that might be feasible in our area. That's something that would mostly be dealt with at the Ride Solutions level, but there is a slight benefit for transit as well, so we're taking part in that. Additionally, she's assisting us with a new campaign that we're going to launch for the Hopper for the holiday season. I'll leave that as a little tagline, so stay tuned for what's to come on that one because we've just now started planning for that. Our education partners, Liberty University, the University of Lynchburg, as well as Central Virginia Community College, they are big partners. We have agreements in place with all three of those universities to allow their students and staff to utilize the city route system at no charge to them, and we receive funding from the university. So that's a huge win. That's not something that every transit system has access to. We're lucky in Lynchburg to have 5 colleges, and 3 of them have signed on to have partnered with us to assist moving forward. Most locations or most cities, 1 or 2 colleges is all you have. So the fact that we have 3 is a big win. And there's many more people that I could thank, and anyone that I did not thank personally, don't take that as an offense. There's just a lot of people that help us each and every day. And then finally, thank you to everyone. Happy to answer any questions if you have any. Otherwise, I'll turn it back over to Christian.
Thank you very much, Brian. Throughout everything that we were talking that you've heard tonight, the word that comes to my mind is partnership. And one of the last things that was mentioned was the ridership, the partnership that we have with the colleges. Liberty University alone provides 65% of our ridership, and our federal state assistance is generated from ridership in part. That's what dictates how much we're going to receive. Between the other colleges, we're up closer to 75% ridership provided by this sector of the community. Our partnership with the state, Patrice, that's why we have the hopper, an opportunity for people to move safely in the evenings from restaurant to restaurant, helping to resolve our parking issue. Patrice, thanks so much for all the work that you've done on that. We talk about the businesses. We have business leaders here tonight that are working with us to utilize the hopper for things that involve several other businesses. So I really appreciate that, Mr. Reed. First Transit, they said we couldn't do anything with it. They couldn't do anything without us. Well, I don't know how we could do any better with anyone but First Transit. We have an amazing relationship. I just want to say how much I appreciate Ryan and the staff he's created. Every board meeting I throw several things at him, and now I know why they get done, because he gives it to Natalie. And that's and she probably gives it to the rest of the staff, but anyways, I know why those things are happening now. But all of you are partners in this also. Region 2000, all the work that you all have been doing along the way, and as citizens, everybody in this room can play a part in helping the GLTC continue with its success, letting people know about the hopper and the ease of access, taking advantage of the programs that are going to be implemented in 2019. These are all things that can be achieved, are in the process of making it happen. We realize just what great programs these are, and we encourage you to utilize the system and tell your friends about the system so that it can continue with its success. If there are no other issues before the board, we will call this meeting adjourned.